Okay, so diving right into it, let's cover the first three of the processes. Plan, schedule, management, which is going to give us a schedule management plan. You got it, I knew it. There's a pattern. Then we're going to determine activity, define activities, and then we're going to sequence those activities. So we got a plan for it. Then we got to figure out what the activities are by further decomposing the work breakdown structure, the work packages down into activities, which is now schedule management. And then we're going to sequence them, put them in order that makes sense. So planning, again, is your typical how to manage, control the entire schedule end to end. Are you going to use critical path method or critical chain method, which we'll address here shortly? You'll define those things in advance and get buy-off from the functional managers, your sponsor, the team, and others. In fact, your team is the one helping you plan these. We have our inputs, tools, and outputs. Always, actually, it's tools and techniques. So inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs. I need my project plan. I don't have much of the project plan yet because I'm still in planning. But I do have now my scope management plan. So I need the requirements to build the schedule. And I need to define what's my developmental approach. We covered that in the first week. Is it an agile approach? Is it predictive? Is it a hybrid of the two? Those sort of things. Then I'm going to bring in my charter because the charter covers the project at a high level, we said. And so I'm going to have a high level requirements in the charter. I'm going to have high-level due dates or milestones, and those are going to be in the charter, and expectations of cost. So I would expect to see that. And then EEFs and OPAs, as you'll see in the PMBOK guide as you leaf through it. My tools then, expert judgment, always specialized knowledge, and either an individual or a group. A group can have specialized knowledge. There are schedule management companies out there. And that would be a group with specialized knowledge. Data analysis. So I like to think of alternatives analysis, right? What is the best way we can do this project? Is it going to be rolling wave planning? Is it going to be some sort of other schedule methodology used? And that's what they mean by data analysis. And then, of course, meetings. My outputs are my schedule management plan. So remember, think of the process. Plan, schedule management. If you're taking the certification exam, the output is just move the words around. Schedule management plan. And in that, I would expect to find how I'm going to monitor and control the schedule, etc. I'm going to set the schedule model, critical path, critical chain, rolling wave, agile. What units of measurement am I going to use to measure the project as it progresses? Is it going to be days, weeks, hours? When am I going to release people and parts of the schedule? What is the iterative length? What are my units of measure? What are my links to the organization, like the WBS, etc.? Okay. After I plan schedule management, giving me a schedule management plan, now I'm ready to further decompose the work packages, which is the lowest layer of a work breakdown structure, further decompose those into activities. Okay, so I already told you, we were going to have a celebration of knowledge. I was going to ask you, what is the name for the lowest level of the work breakdown structure? And of course, in a single chorus, you would reply, work packages. Ah, well done. Okay, but now we're defining activities, which again has inputs, tools, and techniques, and outputs. The input is the project management plan. So I want you to think of the schedule management plan, which we just did, and the scope baseline. So remember, I've said over and over, the outputs of previous processes often become inputs into my current process. So in planning schedule management, if you look on page 25, you'll see above it, scope. And so the scope baseline makes sense coming in as an input. And you also see the schedule management plan just prior to define activities. So that makes sense. So on the test, if it says to you, hey, tell me about what are examples of inputs to the project management plan under define activities, I would just look above it on chart on page 25. And of course, EEFs and OPAs. Now my tools when I define activities are expert judgment. We've defined that many times. Decomposition. I've mentioned that now over and over already in this lecture and in the previous week. Breaking down the work package into activities is schedule management. I can do rolling wave planning, and the key there are 3 keys actually. It's iterative. You work the detail that you have in near term, knowing there's more detail to come, and the future will be at a higher level. Okay? Meetings, I want you to think of face-to-face, virtual, formal, and informal. The PMBOK guide goes through that, and so does Rita quite well. Then my outputs, think of it. My process is at the top of the slide, define activities. So what's my output? Activity list. And with it, activity attributes. Just like in the previous week, the work breakdown structure and the work breakdown structure, bam, are always together. Well, so is the activity list and the activity attributes. The attributes become your work breakdown structure for activities. It's all the details that isn't listed in the activity, which is A, B, or C. You will also get a milestone list here as an output, and change requests and project plan updates. Okay? Now, here is a slide that shows the activity list and the attributes. What I really want to focus here on the attributes, and it's okay if you appreciate the order I put them in. The order has no bearing of one more important than the other. I was just trying to make the letters kind of cascade down, or the lines rather. So I was having fun with it. But the activity list has activity attributes, and those attributes include what are the logical relationships of that activity, what are the successor activities, meaning what are the activities that come after this activity, where's the physical location of the activity, does it have leads or lags, did somebody else, a boss, impose a date on this activity, that sort of thing. Okay? So after we plan schedule management and define activities, now we want to put them in order that makes sense. And this is about sequencing. So we're going to sequence activities, okay? It's about relationships, defining a logical sequence to maximize your efficiency, okay? And so you see on the left we have activities A, B through F. And on the right now, we have put them in an order based on logical relationships. I start, then I can go to A and D. A must happen before B. D happens, then C and E can happen, etc. Okay? It shows dependencies. It's going to help justify our estimates. It's going to give us ways that we can compress and manipulate the schedule if, or should I say when, no, if we fall behind. Okay? So sequence activities, our third process in schedule management, has these inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs. The inputs, again, haven't changed, have they? Largely. It's the project management plan, EEFs, and OPAs every single time. And we've only changed it from the charter to other things. Here, project documents. The documents here, remember in the second slide at the beginning of this lesson, I had A, B, and C. A are the process groups, B is the project management plan, and C are the documents. These are the documents. You'll see some of these listed on that slide. The activity list, activity attributes. Bam. So when you're on the exam and you're looking at page 25, because you've written it down real quick, and you're in sequence activities, look right above it. What came first? The outputs of the last process are often inputs or intent of the next process. So the project plan, I would include the schedule management plan, of course, and the scope baseline. That was just like before. the project documents, the tools, and outputs. The tools are the precedence diagramming method. PDM is what that's called. And the activities are called nodes. I'm going to go into that. Just know that there are 4 dependencies. That's all in the next few lessons. There's predecessor, which an activity that logically comes before another one. And the successor is the activity logically comes after another one. It's the successor. Dependency, determination, leads, and lags. Those are all in the following lectures. And we have our outputs. So in sequence activities, I produce a schedule network diagram. This is an order that focuses on relationships. There's no times here yet. Just focuses on relationships. And of course, project document updates. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back right after this commercial message.